Hi, in this lecture I will give a short introduction to the existential insecurity theory. I think it's a fascinating theory which helps us to understand religion. Key to the theory is the idea that people are confronted with existential insecurities. These may result from illness or death or poverty and violence. And in order to cope with these insecurities, people turn to religion. The religion helps to cope with these insecurities in two ways. First, religions provide group support. People have a need to belong to groups. Religious rituals such as praying and group activities give a sense of control. And group members can also help each other. They may give emotional support, but also physical protection and financial assets. So members benefit from the support religion provides as a group. But religions also provide supernatural support. Many religions argue that supernatural powers control the world and the afterworld. So when people are confronted with existential insecurities, they can find comfort and meaning in their religion, in this worldview. And moreover, in many religions, people can actively interact and negotiate with supernatural beings. They may pray to God to help their sick child, for example, and then hope that God will listen to them. So religious coping works by a group support and supernatural support. So according to the theory, when people are confronted more strongly with existential insecurities, they will turn to religion as a coping method. And that is the individual level effect at the micro level. The nice thing about this theory is that it gives an explanation for the fact that modern societies tend to be less religious. So this theory helps us to explain why in, say, highly affluent and technologically advanced Sweden, people pray less often than in, say, Mexico. In modern societies, people are more protected from existential insecurities. There's less poverty, less violence, there's more healthcare, safety and wealth. So modernization leads to a reduction of existential insecurities, and because of that, there's less demand for religion as a coping mechanism. And this means, for example, that people will pray less, they will not go to church anymore, they will not pass on their religion to their children, and so on. And as a consequence of this, the country will become less religious. And this is how the existential insecurity theory explains the relationship between modernization and religiosity. And looking deeper into the theory, scholars have added another element, namely social security. They argue that an important way in which modern societies have reduced existential insecurities is by developing a social security system. A system which provides healthcare, a safety net that protects its citizens. And scholars find that indeed in countries such as Sweden, Denmark and the Netherlands, which have extensive social security systems, there is strong evidence for secularization. In these countries, the government strongly protects its citizens, so people do not need to turn to religion anymore for support. Well, sociologists use this theory to understand and predict when religion becomes important to people. And the theory expects that this will happen when people feel strongly stressed or threatened. And that can happen even in modern societies. For example, they predicted and indeed found that when people are confronted with death of their beloved ones, they often use religion as coping, as a way to give meaning to suffering. Violence can also cause feelings of stress and existential threat. An example is the 9/11 terrorist attacks, which killed thousands of US citizens. And research shows that in days that followed, many Americans turned to prayer and participated in religious meetings more than before the attack. Natural disasters can also create intense feelings of insecurity. Earthquakes can destroy buildings and pose a risk to the lives of many human beings. And studies show that, indeed, people who live in high-risk earthquake areas are more religious than people who live in low-risk earthquake areas. And similarly, scholars find that people pray more often after an earthquake happened in their area than before. In summary, the existential insecurity theory is a very powerful explanation for religion. People are confronted with existential insecurities and they turn to religion as a coping mechanism. Because modern societies have lower levels of poverty, illness, so less insecurity, people turn away from religion. And that is why, generally speaking, modernization leads to secularization. But this theory also helps to understand why, even in modern societies, people may turn to religion. This happens when people are confronted with strong levels of existential threat, such as when people lose a beloved one, or when they are exposed to terrorist attacks or earthquakes. Okay, thanks for listening.